What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today I want to talk to you about momentum. Momentum. But before we get into why we're going to talk about momentum, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, drop your comments, and share these videos. Let's grow the channel. All right, now, why am I talking about momentum? Well, as you all know, the rail worker negotiations continue. There's a tentative agreement on the table that still needs to be voted on. And we have one railroad union that voted no so far. There's more votes to come during November, and possibility that more will say no and a strike can be looming. But how does that relate to momentum? I've been talking about how there's been a kind of like a labor reawakening of sorts over the past couple years, and income inequality has gotten so bad that it's really the kindling and the fuel for this labor uprising. So now let's talk momentum, because an opinion piece came out by the CEO of the National Association of Chemical Distributors. It's the CEO of the National Association of Chemical Distributors. This came out on a website called Supply Chain Dive. It's an opinion piece from the CEO. This is a CEO who wrote an opinion piece chastising the railroads, not the workers. He's siding with the workers. Momentum is important, and you can see how it is starting to affect things by this opinion piece. So let's dive into it. This is on supplychaindive.com. All right. It says railroads should give workers the benefits they seek. It's time to get freight rail back on track with a stable workforce and improved service, writes the National Association of Chemical Distributors. The following is an opinion article written by Eric R. Beyer, President and CEO of the National Association of Chemical Distributors. Here we go. Over the last several months, U.S. businesses dependent on freight rail have watched negotiations between the railroads and their labor unions become more heated. There could be dire economic ramifications if an agreement is not ratified. A nationwide freight rail shutdown would cost the American economy $2 billion daily. Why are we in this predicament? Because the freight rail companies put us here. Someone who is at the top of his business agrees that it is the freight rail companies who have put us in this predicament by being unreasonable, greedy bastards that only want profit, but don't want to pay the very force that drives their profit. But let's continue. Anyone who has closely watched railroads over the years knows that even if a labor deal prevails, freight rail service will continue to deteriorate until some wholesale changes take place. Service declines can be tied to a railroading model known as precision scheduled railroading. That's precision scheduled railroading, or PSR, which has directly led to a dwindling number of rail workers that support our critical supply chain. The freight rail industry has reduced its combined workforce by nearly 30%. That's almost 45,000 rail workers. They've done this over the last 6 years. These are highly skilled jobs that require years of training, meaning that the railroads will not be able to easily replace the workers who are now quitting the industry in droves. A lot of times, these managers and owners, they undervalue their workforce, and they that's a mistake, because all labor is skilled labor. All labor is valuable. It all serves to produce profit for the company. All labor. As a result, PSR has also led rail workers to clamor for the basic benefits held by the average U.S. worker with full-time employment. Meanwhile, rail customers, which have been impacted by enormous delays and more restrictive service conditions due to limited train starts, are left clamoring for reliable service from railroads with billion-dollar profit margins. Again, profits are through the roof. It's no wonder benefits are a sticking point in the labor negotiations between railroads and their workers. That's something that was pretty obvious if you listened to any of the workers, is that they're not worried about the money as much as they're worried about the quality of life issues. A few weeks ago, Labor Secretary Marty Walsh successfully brokered a tentative deal between the railroads and unions. But the true test is now playing out, as the union rank and file votes on the negotiated agreement. Already, 1 of 12 unions has voted against the deal. Concerns over quality of life are one reason for the rejection. Without adequate benefits, there is no incentive for current workers to stay or for new workers to fill positions essential for safe and reliable freight rail service for customers. Some of the onerous penalties imposed on rail workers for taking leave to visit a doctor or dentist are addressed in the tentative agreement, but to say the paid sick leave policy for rail workers is woefully inadequate would be an understatement. The negotiated agreement does not include any significant measures to improve quality of life issues. Rail workers today have 0 time allotted to them by their freight rail employers for sick leave. The brokered agreement now provides just 1 day. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, private sector workers receive 7 to 8 days of sick leave per year. A fragile and volatile supply chain requires a strong rail network. Now is not the time to deny reasonable benefits for a labor community that has been decimated by losses in recent years, nor is it the time to continue down a path of a PSR system that stretches workers while lining the pockets of executives and shareholders. It's time for the freight rail industry to right this wrong and get rail back on track. That's from a CEO who is siding with the workers, because a strike is bad for business overall. But again, it's a tool, and it's the only tool that the worker has, because the only thing that you provide to the company that can bolster your position in a negotiation is your work. Now, when you do withhold your work, you hurt the company, but you're also hurting the community around it. So it is bad for business, it's bad for the community, but let us not lay blame where it doesn't lie. It doesn't lie with the workers. They're not being unreasonable. It's not unreasonable to ask for paid time off, sick days, vacation days, better pay. When you're raking in billions and you've cut the workforce by 30% over the last 6 years, you're making my job harder every day. That is not unreasonable to ask for these things. It is unreasonable to deny them, but it's something that we have to come to expect. Let's not be fools. At a negotiating table, each side is supposed to be trying to get the best deal for their side. And so in doing that, you got to come to a happy medium, but it doesn't work out that way when the other party doesn't see the value that you bring to the table and instead acts like they're providing charity. This is a good example of momentum building for the labor movement. These small victories. Just the other day, we had the Philadelphia Museum of Art workers' victory. You got an opinion piece coming out in support of the railroad workers. Momentum, momentum, momentum. Keep on spreading that solidarity. Keep on spreading that love. Keep on spreading that brotherhood. Keep on spreading that siblinghood. That's how we build a strong worker-friendly economy. That's how we build strong unions. All right. My name's Eric. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, the fight is not left and right. It is up and down. It's going to take solidarity to win always. Each one teach one. Get out there and reach one. And there can be no union without you and I front and center. Peace.